Hi, welcome to Energy Balancing with Pat. Today we're going to take the Chinese five element theory and combine it with some very powerful points on the head called neurovascular points. These points are where the nervous system and the vascular, the blood supply system, come together, and they're very powerful in moving energy. The first set of points we're going to talk about are the main neurovasculars, and they're right above the eyebrows. You come up over that little bit of bone ridge, a little bit of a depression, and you can either place your fingers here or your whole hand, both hands. Donna Eden calls these the oh my God points because when anything happens, oh my God. So these points bring energy to the front brain, the prefrontal cortex, and this is where the problem solving part of our brain lies. So when we perceive things through our senses, our brain has to make a decision. Is it a threat? Then it goes to the back part of the brain where we go into fight or flight, stress response. We go into our automatic actions just to keep us safe. We don't think about it. If a tiger is after us, we need to run, not think about what to do. Or it can go to the front part of the brain where our problem solving, our creative thinking lies. So, what we want to do is anytime we're under stress or we have a problem, we want to bring the energy to the front of the brain so that we can have more creative solutions come forward. In addition, there are neurovascular points for all of the different meridians and also the five elements. The five elements in the Chinese five element theory are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. And today we're going to use them in the control cycle. This is where each contains the other one and keeps it in balance. So, for example, and we start with water, that's the beginning of the flow, and water can contain fire. You know how fire burns, it can go everywhere all at once with a lot of energy. So, what controls fire? Water. So, when we travel in the control cycle, we're bringing balance to each of these elements. And we can do the same thing with these neurovascular points that are associated with each of the elements. Here, let's switch. And we can see that we've got water, fire, metal, wood, and earth. We're going to do them in order of the control cycle, starting with water, and we're traveling up and then back down. So it's a really easy pattern to remember. We're just going to go in order, going from our occipital ridge, where our skull meets the neck, come up to the bump behind the eyebrows, where our head curves out, fire. The top of our head, you can just go from your ears and slide right up, where metal is. Then to the side at the end of our eyebrow for wood, and on top of the cheekbones for earth. Now, each of the five elements talks about different personality types or different emotions. And there are a lot of different emotions, but we can kind of sum them up, just kind of a capstone, with water being about fear. You think about stagnant water and it can't move. So we're talking about fear. Fire, thinking of that fire going all over the place in all different directions, trying to do everything at once. That fire is out of balance, is overwhelmed. And then metal. Metal is about letting go. So metal can be in its unbalanced state. It can be about um, an inability to let go of grief, something that has stayed too long, sadness, clinging on to things that we're really done with and we need to move on, but we just can't let go. And then with wood, we've got anger or frustration. Wood element is a very strong energy. It's represents the springtime when the energy is coming up from the roots and into the trees and leaves. There's a lot of push behind all of that. Well, wood is very visionary. Wood in balance is a leadership element, and it sees the bigger picture of how things would work out best. But it gets frustrated if things don't fall into place. And wood can be a fast energy. So if things aren't moving quickly enough, there can be frustration either internally at yourself or externally at others or the situation. And then with earth, we're talking about the nurturing element. And earth out of balance is about being in other people's business, trying to take care of them, and maybe over nurturing to the point where it becomes irritating to others. So, an earth out of balance is not spending enough time keeping their own balance, nurturing themselves. So, this can be about a lack of self nurturing, a lack of going within and focusing on our own energy. So, what we're going to do is hold the main neurovasculars and bring the energy up to our prefrontal cortex for our problem solving. And then we're going to be taking our other hand and holding it on each of the 5 elements, starting with water on this little ridge. And we're going to hold for 2 to 5 minutes. And if you know what's going on, if you know, for example, that it is a water issue, that you're feeling kind of frozen with fear, let's say you've watched TV and you come away from the evening news and you just feel like, oh my gosh, there's too much. I mean, what can I do? Everything's going wrong. You can place your hands on the back of your head, just above the neck and the prefrontal cortex. And you want to breathe through whatever emotions come up. If it's about a certain situation, you want to think about that situation and let those emotions come up, because we want to bring it to the front of the brain so that problem solving can occur. And we're going to hold that and just wait and notice. Notice what thoughts come up. Notice what feelings come up. Notice your body sensations. Now, if you don't notice anything for this position, just hold for 2 minutes. It takes at least 2 minutes before 2 points are connected energetically. And if this was a point that you really needed, if there are fears involved, then you'll find that your energy starts to shift and you start to feel more hopeful. You start to feel more optimistic. You start to see, oh, yeah, maybe that's not such a big deal. I can do this or I can do that. And then we move up to the fire point, which is overwhelm. If your schedule is jam-packed and you can't even prioritize to do the most important things because it's all coming at you at once and it's no thinking involved, you're just scrambling. And we want to bring order to that chaos. This prefrontal cortex will help us sort out, and all of a sudden, when we're done, maybe it's 5 minutes of holding, we'll have a clear picture of what's important and what we need to focus on. And instead of being overwhelmed and drained of energy, we'll start to feel excited because we're going to do what's most important, what we're most passionate about, what's going to accomplish the most for us. And then we move to the top of the head for sadness or grief. Now, grief is a very normal and appropriate emotion, but if it lasts too long, then we go into inaction. We can't move. We can't let new life in, new love in. And of course, grief is part of the cycle of letting go, because when we let go, whether it's moving house, we still mourn the loss of what we had. And that's an important thing to acknowledge. But then to make the most of our new house, we have to move on to the next stage, which is getting excited about where we are now. Letting go of the past. And if you feel one of these points is doing more than the other, then by all means, hold that point longer. You don't have to do the same amount of time on each one. Then we'll move to wood, and you can either hold like this or like this, as long as we're covering both the wood point and the main neurovasculars. And again, frustration, anger, body tension. These are working on the physical aspects of the meridians too. It's bringing balance to all of what the meridians do, not just the emotions. So muscle tension is a good indicator that we've got some issues involving wood involved. And then lastly, we go to our earth element. And again, you can use just your fingers. But I find this a very comfortable, nurturing position. You can rest your elbows on your table and hold. You feel it melt. If you've been overly concerned about what other people are doing and how they're doing it and are they doing it okay, and maybe it's about your son or your daughter or your mother, your best friend, let all those worries come up, rise to the surface, because we want them to come up and get reprogrammed in the prefrontal cortex, where everything starts to come into balance. Now, you can do this cycle, the control cycle, which I really like because it brings all of the elements into balance, or you can just pick one. If you're overwhelmed and so much is going on, maybe you're just going to hold your fire point. So that's it for today. A very easy practice. There'll be more information coming about the 5 elements, or you can do some of your own research. It's a fascinating topic. There is so much information about the 5 elements. You can find out what your dominant element is. Everybody has one dominant element and one or two secondary elements that we think is just personality choices, but the more you dig into it, the more you find that what we're doing is acting from a certain filter, so to speak. The more you know about your element, the more you'll understand yourself and why you are the way you are. And just as importantly, you'll understand why others act the way they do. It gives us more understanding and tolerance when we understand that a wood is just being a wood or a water is just being a water, instead of thinking that everything should be just like us. So that's it for today. Energy Balancing with Pat. I hope you have a great day.